Okay, so here we are again for Destination Disability Part 4. And I've talked to you now about the mechanisms and the sort of timeline that led not only to the illness but the PTSD as well. What I wanted to just talk to you a little bit about today is what that illness left me with. The physical disability. So the abscess was sitting over my optic nerves on the brain, and because it was so late being diagnosed, it did permanent damage. So I was left partially sighted, so virtually completely blind in my right eye, but with some peripheral vision loss in my left eye. Now, when both eyes are affected, what that tends to do is it makes your eyes absolutely terrible in the dark. And also your depth perception is badly affected as well. So things like going downstairs, any uneven terrain, judging how far the distance is away from myself, and even practical tasks like feeding myself, getting a fork full of food to my mouth, dressing myself, doing up buttons, doing up laces, all those sort of things that we do every single day and we take for granted, I had to learn to do again. So those fine motor skills, the distance away from myself and so on. So I was left not having to completely learn to walk again, but a lot of those skills having to relearn and kind of get back into my brain, as it were, with the changes to my vision. Obviously the PTSD we've talked about and will continue to talk about, but they were the key things that I was left with, on a daily basis. And my life was changed beyond all recognition, and I was unable to later on to learn to drive, which affected me no end. I eventually did get my motorbike license in my mid-40s. That's another story entirely, which I'm not going to go into here. So what am I going to go on to with this blog? So I've talked to you about what caused the illness. I've talked to you about the effects that I was left with. And ultimately, you're probably looking at this and thinking, well, what do I get out of this? What can I learn from this? And so what I'm hoping to do is to talk to you a little bit about how, my life was difficult after all these things, but then talk to you about how I've dealt with it. And there may be some things in there which you can take away and put into your own life. So that's kind of where I want to go with this. But the key theme, now we've addressed, the mechanisms that took me to where I was, is to talk about recovery and talk about, those positive things that we can all do in our lives, which help us out a little bit. So there we go. I'll look forward to talking to you a little bit more next time. Bye-bye.